Hustle culture. Hashtag rise and grind. Get rich or die grinding. The grind leading the grind. Grind hard with a vengeance. Yes, in 2022, instead of toiling in the wheat field for 10 hours and spying on your neighbor who's taking a bit too long of a break, we've got Instagram to prove we work longer and harder than anyone else. Of course, work in this sense is typically flexing with your hands loosely rested on weights, or flexing while in the ocean and arrows rain down on your wings. What is that guy? Some kind of angel? Or like, did somebody a seagull and birth him, and all the townsfolk are horrified and trying to shoot him while he retreats into the ocean, only to be tragically rejected by his avian brethren and be doomed to wander the earth without a home? That's terrible. Why can't we accept this Birdman for who he is? What was I talking about? Oh, right, hustle culture. If you search on Twitter or Instagram for things like hashtag hustle or hashtag Monday motivation, you'll see a mix of imagery seemingly designed to blur the lines between work and leisure. And this is something that ultra-rich capitalists are only too happy to reinforce. Billionaire Richard Branson said, "Fun is one of the most important ingredients in any successful venture." JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon said, "Remote work does not work for young people or those who want to hustle." You got that? Everyone under 45, you're young and fresh-faced. Maybe you have wings. You work hard and you play hard, as long as that playing hard involves working hard. The concept of a side hustle is so commonplace in our discourse that it's easy to forget that it's just like another job. It's played off as a fun way to follow your dreams, but the sad truth is that the number of Americans having to take second jobs has been increasing over the last 2 decades. But this is a good thing, right? Articles online? It is like clockwork. Anytime something happens in the US economy that looks like a detriment to American workers, there will be an article somewhere to make it seem like all additional work is just a fun piece of the ultimate success puzzle. And it's actually necessary, as billionaires will always say, if you want to get to where they are. Because of course, hard work equals success, right? Not successful? You must not have worked hard enough. Kind of successful, but not as rich as you want to be? You simply didn't work as hard as the billionaire, who clearly works harder than everyone else. What's the evidence for that? Well, him, of course. The wise billionaire said so. You just have to put in 80 to 100-hour weeks every week, Elon Musk says. If other people are putting in 40-hour work weeks, and you're putting in 100-hour work weeks, then even if you're doing the same thing, you know that you will achieve in 4 months what it takes them a year to achieve. That's right. People are just optimally productive no matter how much they work. You know how you work just as hard in the 12th hour of your shift as your 3rd hour? If you would just put in 100 hours a week at Sur La Table, you definitely would have made shift manager. The thing about this, though, is that it's totally not true. A 2014 study from Stanford found that increased working hours typically results in less productivity, which drops sharply above 50 weekly hours. What a big surprise! Once people are working more than 55 hours in a week, they're barely getting anything done and might as well have not tried. There's a great amount of value in rest. And a number of studies have found that taking regular breaks and literally doing nothing helps improve our mood and makes us more productive when we are working. A 2015 study from Australia found that the stress associated with working more than just 25 hours a week caused cognitive decline in people over 40. A body of research suggests that we're most productive in 90-minute work periods, separated by breaks, with the most successful performers working in 3 90-minute sessions a day. Our brains simply didn't evolve to focus on work-related tasks for 8 or more hours consecutively. But what about those executives who say they work 100 hours a week? Well, the thing about them is they're liars. It's a lie by big, stupid, rich liars. Well, what's Elon doing anyway? Spending the night at the Tesla factory, tightening panels on his shitty cars, slaving away on Twitter every day? What I'm getting at is that what these rich CEOs consider work is not what you or I or most people would ever consider work. Back when Quibi was a beautiful, soft, fleeting thing, the media was desperate to frame CEO Jeffrey Katzenberg as a really hard worker who wakes up at 2:30 a.m. just to get all of his work done. But of course, he didn't really have anything to do other than approve or disapprove of what all of his employees, the people actually doing the work, were creating. What he considered work was what the New York Times described as 3 breakfast meetings, 3 lunch meetings, and a working dinner. So, eating and talking. Not exactly the hardest job in the world, especially since he's the boss and everyone has to do what he tells them. It might get a little tiresome greenlighting Chrissy Teigen court shows over an egg white omelet and a fruit bowl, but it's got to be a lot easier than an actual job. And when it comes to Elon, don't forget that he's the CEO of 4 companies: Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and the Boring Company. That's the one that does the traffic simulating death tunnel so he can sell dirt to the poor, even though he hasn't actually done that yet. So even if he was telling the truth about 100-hour weeks, that means he's working about 25 hours as the CEO of each company. He is just admitting to us that being a CEO is not a full-time job. Could it possibly be that taking meetings and telling people what to do isn't all that hard? If you have a full-time job, think about if you would be able to do even 2 of them, let alone 4, and still have time left over to come up with absolutely killer content like this. I think he's close to having a packet ready for the Gordin show. So at the end of the day, there's simply no shame in not working 100 hours or 80 hours or 40 hours or even 0 hours a week. People telling you otherwise are either misinformed or liars or jerks. Hey, thanks for watching that clip. Here's the evergreen end plate to ask you to like and subscribe. It's any day of the year where you are.